I have no. Good afternoon. I have no gavel. I will try to remember to bring a knife up with me at the end of the meeting. Okay, so thank you all for making it out today. And we have a few changes on the agenda, as I'm sure you will expect. And Scott Stevens will come up now for our invocation and pledge.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be with you today. Won't you stand with me as we pray and make our pledge to the flag, please? Join me as we pray. Almighty God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for keeping us safe as we traveled through this weather. Father, thank you for the rain, and thank you for the dry spells that we have too. We just appreciate all of the weather that we have here in South Carolina that makes it such a wonderful place to live. Thank you for this club. Give us that ability to be able to enrich the lives of the people around us. And Father, I pray for our political leaders. I pray for our mayor as he guides us and directs all of the things that will be happening here in our city. And we thank you for his commitment to making Greenville a better place. Father, thank you for the opportunity to be able to live and work here. Lord God, I just pray that we are able to impact the world in a way that brings honor and glory to you. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon.
I'm going to introduce you to our guests today. We have Mark Sobry, a guest of Jack Clayton's. If you'll stand, thank you for being here. We also have Goff Pettis, guest of Michael Fletcher. Thank you, Goff. Is it Jeff or? Okay, Jeff. I'm used to the JEFF spelling. We have Quentin West, guest of Betty Waste. Thank you for coming. Dawn Ferguson, a guest of Jim Purrier. Thank you for being here. And Josh Diaz, a guest of Amy Randall's. We also have Deb Ayers, a guest of Penny Robbins. And Mark Hutton, a guest of Phil Kilgore. Thank you all so much for coming.
Good afternoon. It's my job to remind you once again of the reason for the blue bucket on the table, and that is for coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust, or as we like to now say, cash for Alzheimer's Research Trust. It was brought to my attention that just before Christmas, it was announced that people that have visceral fat in between their organs are now more likely to be part of those people that are going to be picking up Alzheimer's as they get older. What that means is what we've heard in a lot of different areas. Sugar is the new smoking. I didn't want to talk about this before Christmas, but the thing that you wanted to make sure is that the waist, if your waist is larger than your hips, you should have it checked, according to the CART folks. So that's our little CART note for this day. Now, last month, our Rotary president, Lisa Mangione, was the match for our CART contribution. So she gets a little bit of a commercial, although she is the one who's fought it more than anybody I've ever come up against. But Lisa is Associate Vice President of Finance in the Greenville Technical College. So she's one of the people that oversees the construction going off just off Pleasantburg and plays an active role of what we need from GTC. Lisa is our boss and grew up just north of the boss, Bruce Springsteen in Edentown, New Jersey. Got her first accounting degree and figured out the Garden State Parkway down to Georgian Court University, and went on to Augusta State to get her MBA. But she started out with Aiken Technical College and now has been at GTC now for 14 years. This month, our CART match is George Fletcher. And I started pulling together information for George Fletcher under community organizations and came up with 26 that he's involved in right now. So we're going to set that aside till the next meeting and do that in installments. But please remember the blue bucket.
Good afternoon. My name is Penny Robbins. I'm membership chair for Greenville Rotary. And I've got 3 special guests today. They're not guests, they're actually hardworking Rotarians already, but they are Red Badgers. So as I call your name, come up here to my left. Shannon Cantrell, the ever elusive Shannon Cantrell, and Dee Dee. It's Adias Keita, but we call her Dee Dee, and Philip Snyder. So today they get their 90 seconds of fame to tell you who they are and what they're about and why they're here. And if you get a minute after this meeting today, I sure hope you will take the time to welcome them. They already worked, as I said, at Greenville and did a great job to help us out. So they are in with both feet and we want to welcome them officially. But first off will be Shannon.
Hi, my name is Shannon Cantrell. I'm from Ohio. I've been here about a year and a half. I'm the branch supervisor at First Carolina Bank. Currently, I'm involved in Rotary, Chamber, and I volunteer with the Better Business Bureau. I've been married to my husband for 22 years. We have 2 adult children, Mariah, who's in grad school at Miami University, and my son, Michael, who is at the Citadel in his 2nd year. Oh, and an interesting fact about me is I was born in a Camaro on the way to the hospital.
Hello. Hey, my name is Adias Keita, and I'm from the motherland Africa, West Africa, and I'm from the small country named Togo, and we speak French. So my first language is French, and I'm learning English. I want to thank you, Miss Remy, for sponsoring me in this great group. And I'm a small business owner in Greenville, so I do everything that is African, at faith, health, product, and everything. And I'm in school to do my accounting audit. And I'm a mother of 2, 1 girl and 1 boy, 12 and 10. And I volunteer in Greenville Village. And what funny part about me is, as a good African, I love food. I love traveling, and that's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Philip Snyder. I'm been in Greenville about 2 years as well. My wife and I lived in Charlotte about 6 years. I have 2 small kids under 3. I am a mortgage broker and a current MBA student at Clemson. So go Tigers there. I want to thank Jane for bringing me into Rotary. I found out she's brought a lot of people into Rotary, so that's great, and just really excited to meet everybody and get involved in the Greenville community.
Like I said, be sure to have spend a few minutes with these guys if you can after the meeting. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, despite the weather, the mayor of Greenville is back today honoring us with his long-standing tradition of helping us kick off the new year here at the Rotary Club of Greenville. And thank you for that, Mayor. He's a native of Greenville, a graduate of Wake Forest University and the University of South Carolina Law School, and a partner in the law firm of Hainsworth, Sinkler, and Boyd. Mayor White is in his 8th term, making him the longest-serving mayor in Greenville history. The mayor's book, Reimaging Greenville, he mentions a study in 1989 where locals were asked to name their favorite city, and less than 5% said Greenville. How different people feel today. Back in 1995, when the mayor first took office, gas was $1.09, and I took my daughter and my wife, put them in the car, drove up here to Furman to take a look at it for her. We walked to the downtown, and I told her over my dead and lifeless body, would she ever live in downtown Greenville? Now I teach at Furman, and she lives downtown. And then, obviously, one of the things that I saw back then was the Poinsett. And he played an active role in bringing it new life. Then came the Liberty Bridge and the baseball stadium and the Swamp Rabbit Trail and Unity Park, accomplishments that keep placing Greenville on every best list imaginable. He's done far more than change Greenville. Time magazine noted that Knox White is among 31 people changing the South. So what comes next? Going to find out from Mayor White. Thank you.
You're a real pro at introductions. That was great. I was there listening. Oh, who's going to speak? Great to be here. I guess this is a Kringle Day, right? Kringle Village Day. I sent a message out early this morning. Is the Rotary canceled? Do you have a tradition like you never cancel? Is that what Rotary does? I can't remember. It sounds like it. So, well, anyway, I guess we lost a few people in the shuffle, but that's okay. Coming over here, I got a text from my wife, and it was just one sentence. It said, "Are you okay?" So I called her back. I said, "Yeah, we're fine." But apparently, if you're watching TV at home, you're seeing all kind of scary things out there. So thunder and lightning and that kind of thing. So we're okay, right? We're okay. So everybody watching at home, we're okay. They didn't come here. But thank y'all very much. I always enjoy speaking to the Rotary Club early in the year, and I think you got a lot of new members here, so say a word about that. This club is the oldest club and one of the oldest in the whole country, and certainly here in Greenville. And so I had a tradition in my early days, in particular, of coming here with sort of using Rotary as a sounding board. Throw out an idea and see if I don't get booed or cheered. But looking back, it's been really interesting because it really was this. It was a Rotary Club meeting that I addressed years ago, where talked about taking down the Camperdown Bridge to do Falls Park, which was really controversial. And it was very impactful to me and to the folks who were with me that day, because we did it very intentionally. We rolled it out. We handed out a postcard. Everybody in the Rotary Club meeting got a postcard of a picture of the waterfall of Falls Park. Of Reedy River Falls, because most people who lived in Greenville had never seen the waterfall. They didn't know we had it. So we sent the picture out. Everybody could see it. And I remember standing up there. I still remember this very vividly. And everybody had the postcard. They were all like this, holding it like, most of them were thinking, where's that? It was under a bridge on Main Street. But the fact that I didn't get booed and people listened to the story of what the asset of the falls could be. And we also had some wonderful photographs. We didn't have PowerPoint then. I guess we had a slide presentation or something. Had my staff with me. We showed pictures of Reedy River Falls in 1888, 1910, 1930, when people actually went there, and it was considered a point of pride with the Greenville community. And that just added to the total confusion, of course, on where is this place and all that kind of thing. So done that a couple of more times on other projects, but anyway, but I could, wherever I remember going back, we'll let an assessment with my assistant, who was real big on the topic too. And she immediately said, well, you didn't get booed. Okay, we'll go with that anyway. So launch we did, and became a reality. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about some things that are coming up. However, I do not have anything nearly as dramatic and interesting as a waterfall to show you. Well, I just completed a whirlwind campaign, and because we don't have as many people here, and because this is just us in this room, right? I thought I'd share with you some observations about the campaign experience, because I did a lot of door to door in the campaign, which is always the only part of a campaign that actually is fun and interesting and thought provoking is going door to door. It's really a positive experience, and it's interesting observations. I only had one. Knocked at about 1,000 doors. That doesn't mean I met 1,000 people. That just means 1,000 doors, but hundreds of people. And people do want to talk, and they're always kind of a little surprised to have the mayor on their doorstep. I guess I had that working for me. Only had one, and I'm serious now, only had one negative experience. One person who was just blatantly rude. And I say this because I had some people with me. We walked up the doorstep, and this house had a sign in the front yard, and I'm not making this up. It said, "Hate has no place in our home." And that was the house that was hateful. Somebody came to the door, slammed the door, and then looked out the window and went like this. I said, wow, they're really something. Everybody else was quite the opposite. But here's some interesting observations about Greenville. It was a good experience for me. I'd be the first to say it was a good experience for me to get out and on that level, if you will, and that granular about what's happening in neighborhoods around the city. what I knew and what I didn't know, and people I hadn't seen in a while. The neighborhoods in the city, Caroline, are amazing. The renovation, I mean, I look at statistics and I have my experience in the world I live in, but to really get out there and see how on any given street in the city of Greenville, the renovations are just astounding. And new construction, we think about that first, but the renovations, the building of front porches in neighborhoods that never had front porches, on it goes. And that's an extremely important sign for a city, especially a city being older, that you have renovation, because that means that new people are here. That probably means that young people are here. And that was the biggest seismic difference between their city demographics now and just 20 years ago, which is the age factor. It used to be you'd go door to door, it was all retirees, frankly. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it was all. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to knock on the door of a young family 20 years ago in the city. And now it was a mix of everybody. It was a lot of retirees. Though it might be a retiree who moved here from Cincinnati. And certainly with a lot of young families with babies and kids and dogs. And that was the overall impression, the takeaway throughout the entire city. And in neighborhoods in the North Main area, that particularly comes to my mind because that was an area that not that many years ago had some neighborhoods really in distress and people leaving in droves, and the population again being older. It was always very, very positive and very good. Some funny highlights that I think I'd kind of share with you. There was a neighborhood off Augusta Road, one of these great, again, a lot of renovations, a lot of young families and little bungalow houses. And everybody wanted to talk about how much they love their city, how much they love their neighborhood, and how they renovated one person another. In this particular street, though, the same people who wanted to talk about that, several of them mentioned to me, except for the cat woman down the street. What's that? And oh, this is down the street we're kind of embarrassed about. She's got one of these cats, you know. Okay, knock on another door. Same conversation. Just love everything about my neighborhood. Look, we just moved here from wherever, except for the cat woman. Well, I'm going down the street. I'm beginning to wonder. Sure enough, I knock on the door. Lady comes. She's very nice and everything. There's one cat, two cats, three cats, four cats, five cats, cats on the porch and everything else. I'm thinking to myself while she's talking to me, this is obviously the cat woman. And then she says to me, I love my neighborhood, but can I share something? Can I ask for your help on something? Well, how do you get rid of cats? And I was like, she said, you might have noticed. I said, well, yeah, I did notice. And I mean, they were like all over the place. She said, I brought in a cat or two about a year or so ago. And next thing I know, I'm out of control. And I've called the Humane Society. I've called this organization, that or that. I can't get rid of the cats. And it was really kind of striking because, again, the neighbor's perception was that she was overtly thinking this was wonderful, isn't it great? And she was actually, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know what to do about it, everything else. That's an advertisement. If anybody has an idea how to get rid of a cat or cats, plural, let me know about that. So I did share that news with some of the other neighbors later that she does desire to get rid of the cats. In some of the neighborhoods, I was sometimes struck by a number of this happened twice, and it only happened twice, but it's still kind of profound. Twice I ran into Vietnam vets who were homebound, obviously older, and one guy you walk in his house, come on in, had a map of Vietnam in his living room. I said, so you were in Vietnam? To which he said, how'd you know? Well, you got a map of Vietnam in your living room. But he was a Meals on Wheels recipient and needed the extra help and everything. So it was interesting that twice I ran into kind of a poignant moment on that. But overall, again, the demographics were so healthy for a city. I just would be struck so many times and just have to stop for a moment and look around at a neighborhood that had transformed itself. Doesn't make the newspaper. You probably don't even know what some of these streets are. Some of them were streets kind of tucked away that I didn't know. But the message of being proud of Greenville, excited about their city, loving their neighborhood, loving the people in their neighborhood was just over and over repeated. And that's a different picture from what I'd had in previous campaigns, not just for myself, but other candidates. So I'd go door to door with other people. So I've got a kind of a 20-year experience of listening to to folks' comments on things, but it was very clear to see that. And again, Caroline, I keep looking at you here. It's a real estate business, but front porches are back. I mean, that just says a lot that people want to build front porches and kind of interact with their neighbors. So that's been a good thing. Well, people are excited about Greenville for a number of things, but one thing that really came through is that they, especially if they've lived someplace else, that the focus of this city, and this is the city writ large, this is the people who live in Greenville, really like a focus on quality of life. We are never have been about just the things that you have to do. Certainly, public safety is foremost in everybody's mind, but police departments, fire departments, all the things that all the cities do. But the fact that on top of all of that, the city spends its time and has for decades now, spent all this time and focus on creating extra quality of life matters, that things we do that we don't have to do. We don't have to have a swamp rabbit trail. We don't have to have a Unity Park. We don't have a lot of these other things. And the people seem to really appreciate that and want to share that in the cities they came from. Those kind of things were so far and few between. And yet in Greenville, it seems to be every month or week. And that's not just the city, that's the county participation and nonprofit groups and everybody in this community who does the extra things that sometimes other cities it just doesn't happen. And that also gets back to this whole idea of collaboration and partnerships. And in Greenville, thank goodness, we still have a good tradition of partnerships and collaboration and people working together. It's not a bad word, partnerships, it's a good word, and it still is. And please understand, in so many cities, and I do talk to a lot of mayors of other cities, that is not the case in so many places. So we want to maintain that. Looking ahead, just to touch on kind of a potpourri of things going on for 2024 and beyond. Let me mention one right off the bat that we haven't had a lot of public attention to, but I'm going to kind of share this with you because it's going to become a little more obvious in 2024. For the past 2 years, we have really been on an annexation push. You may know that the city of Greenville has a population that puts us at like number 4 or number 5 of cities in South Carolina. Always confuses people. The city in South Carolina, the city of Charleston is the biggest city now. Columbia is right behind it. Then North Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Rock Hill, all larger populations in the city of Greenville. Last several years, we've been catching up. It's hard to annex in South Carolina, but it's not impossible to annex. In Greenville's case, I'd always felt like the major issue was we weren't doing the ask. Yeah, we're surrounded by textile mills on one side, and they created these special purpose districts over the decades, and that's why essentially we were kind of hemmed in, 1940s, 50s, 60s. We didn't annex toward the west side at all because they're there, but those days are gone, and we've been working our way through these other neighborhoods. We have some advantages, by the way. This may surprise you, that West Greenville, that would be beyond Unity Park, the mill area, the textile crescents, if you will, the Parker District. Over the decades, those areas actually pay higher property taxes than people do in the city of Greenville. In fact, the city of Greenville is just kind of midway in terms of tax districts in Greenville County. But a lot of other places you actually pay more. And I say that because the service delivery, whether it's police, sidewalks, street lights, all the things you get when you come into the city are not granted to those people, but they do pay higher taxes. So that's a message we have working in our favor, and we've been kind of quietly having that conversation with a lot of people. But the biggest reason that the city of Greenville's population is so much smaller than these other cities I mentioned, Columbia, Charleston, et cetera, really it's rooted, it basically starts with square miles, the actual footprint of the city. Again, we were hemmed in for decades with the special purpose districts, Parker District, everybody else on one side, and then Boiling Springs on the other side. So here's the difference in just physical size of the cities. It may kind of surprise you. We're now 30 square miles. That's up from about 24 a couple years ago. We're now 30. Okay, city of Charleston's 114 square miles. We're 30, they're 114. North Charleston, 77 square miles. Mount Pleasant is 49 square miles, almost 50. Columbia, if you includes Fort Jackson, but taking out Fort Jackson, they're about 120 square miles, taking out Fort Jackson. And Rock Hill is 38 square miles. So it starts with something very basic, which is your population of your city is not going to go up unless you're physical boundaries, if you will expand. So we're working on expanding those boundaries and annexing more of the properties that we think are natural extensions of the city of Greenville that sort of fit us in different ways. So we've been moving out, particularly in West Greenville. We took a large annexation last year toward just beyond Unity Park. And at the end of the day, we hope to see Judson Mill, Brandon Mills, and some others in the city of Greenville. And we do this for a number of reasons. One is our population really should not be number 5 in South Carolina. It gives us a lot of issues in terms of recruiting people and our businesses here in particular, especially retail, by the way, which I'll touch on in a minute. Retail that doesn't come here because I think we're a small city until they understand that the county is the largest county in South Carolina and our metro area is considerable. But these other cities had done a better job over the years of just annexing physical property. So we're now really focusing on that. So I'm laying all that out to you because you'll see in the weeks ahead, in about a month or no, you're going to finally hear about one that when you hear about it, you go, oh, that's what the mayor was talking about, because I can't talk about it yet. But we're going to have a major annexation to announce shortly. Everything heretofore has been, 10 acres, that kind of thing. This will be really, really significant. One last word about annexation. You do this for a lot of reasons, but one reason is I genuinely believe that Greenville County is a better place when you have the city sort of front and center. We plan better, we manage better, we have some thoughtfulness to what happens. In West Greenville in particular, the old mill districts, those areas are beginning to grow. And they're either going to grow helter-skelter with no control, no management at all, or they're going to have the city of Greenville there. It's certainly better for public safety. Sometimes we annex property because one side of the city is the county and the other parts of the city, and that's not good for us. It's very confusing for our police department. It's very difficult for our law enforcement folks. If there's a line there, they can't cross, and then of course the bad stuff comes over that line. So in many, many respects, it makes our community safer. It gives us a stronger tax base. It kind of allows, again, for what we know as the quality of life in the city to be extended. And I think that's a good thing. Second thing we're really pushing hard on, and we had a meeting last night at City Council. We are, for the first time ever, we have in our budget, last 2 years actually, money to purchase land for open space. We have a very thoughtful graph on how we prioritize pieces of property, but we're basically looking for properties that we just don't believe should be developed, or opportunities to preserve green space, forest area, and that kind of thing in the city. We've been very thoughtful about this. We've been doing a pretty deep dig on properties that might be available for the city. Now we have, again, a cache of some funds that actually allows us to buy property. And last night we bought the second piece and what we did, we bought a piece, couple acres in the Nickeltown neighborhood off of Ferris Road. It's sort of behind First Baptist Church. It's a wooded area. It goes downhill. It's along the river. It needs to remain green space. And we did have an episode about a year ago of a developer who started looking at it for doing some housing, which we were kind of disturbed over. It didn't seem like an appropriate place to have housing, though that was not the only reason we chose this particular site. But we made the decision last night. It's one of the bigger purchases we've made so far. So we're still going to be doing more of that as well, purchasing the green space. The trail system kind of plays into that. We're looking at opportunities to expand the Swamp River Trail even further. We opened the Lawrence Road Trail this past summer at long last. And by the way, the bridge into Hollingsworth will be dedicated next month. So when you're on that trail, you can actually take a bridge into the Hollingsworth neighborhood as well. So that we have that. But we're looking at a couple more opportunities for the Swamp River Trail to be extended. I'm hard to say whether it be next year or into 2025, but we have some great opportunities to continue to expand the Swamp River Trail. One thing about expanding the trail, such as Lawrence Road, when you expand it, they come. No doubt about that. And we've been, again, pretty strategic about where we expand it in terms of what can develop along the edges of it and what it means for the neighborhood. So watch for the opportunity to do that. Unity Park has a lot more to be done. We're going to be completing the baseball field in 2024. That funding's all in place. We have the iconic Honor Tower, which I predict will be right up there with the Liberty Bridge in terms of something people are going to really be proud of and really an iconic piece for Greenville. We're also actively involved in I guess we have about 4 different projects now on the edge of Unity Park for affordable housing. And it's tough putting these projects together, but in our case, it's been kind of different. The area is so desirable from a development standpoint that all of our affordable housing projects have been made better. People have come along and said, we can build something more profound, deeper affordability than you had before, and even more units than you had before. So we've actually kind of pulled some things back to let it become something bigger. I have a trip to Atlanta in about 2 weeks to look at some projects in Atlanta, Georgia that we're modeling after. So you're going to see some pretty dramatic opportunities there coming on the ground in 2024. We have a new police headquarters. If you've been on Halton Road, if you know where the old K&W cafeteria was, right across the street, we bought one of those buildings and floor last year, being renovated for our new municipal court and for the new police headquarters. This is very important. We started talking about this in earnest almost 10 years ago with the police department. And I don't know if you've been to the old law enforcement centers. You come into Greenville on your right. You come into Greenville on 385 and you are greeted by the jail and police headquarters. It might have been a nice idea in the 1970s to get the sheriff's department and the police department together, but it's long since outlived its usefulness. Low ceilings, virtually no windows, cramped, crowded. Greenville Police Department, every time the sheriff's department, they're bigger after all, wants a little more room. They tend to get their extra room. So we've been particularly crowded. We think our law enforcement officers deserve a really first-class place to work out of, a place that actually want to go to work in the morning before they go out. And so it's been great that we've been able to work on this project, and it would be something from a morale standpoint with the Greenville Police Department. It is a big one. It is a huge thing. So we're doing that as well. We are looking at a new fire station on Stone Avenue. The Stone Avenue Fire Station has some major issues. And so we'll be rebuilding a new fire station, probably directly next door to the existing fire station on Stone Avenue. You may know that area floods around there. And years ago, the restaurant blew up in a flood. So it's pretty bad flooding situation. We have as a priority to find a new grocery store in West Greenville. West Greenville is growing quickly. The whole, again, kind of Unity Park down to St. Francis Hospital and beyond. We're looking at a lot of annexation in that area. A lot of new development as well as renovation. And people who live there traditionally, number one issue for a long time has been the lack of a grocery store. We've done this before. Just a little step back here. It was only about 8 years ago that we had focus groups on Augusta Road and in North Main area and asking about, what are your priorities? What do you want to see? And I remember being very kind of surprised that Augusta Road in particular, the number one issue was not traffic or that kind of thing. The number one issue was a grocery store. People in Augusta Road area writ large did not have a convenience store. And North Main, Wade Hampton, same exact story. So we went to work on that. Those didn't just happen. We finally landed Harris Teeter in both locations and worked with them very closely to get stores both there. And then years before that, we did the exact same thing to get the Publix grocery store. We went down to Lakeland, Florida, and persuaded Publix to build what at the time really was an edgy thing, which was a downtown grocery store, the Publix. And they did it. Bilo said no, and Fresh Market said no, and Publix said yes, and they gave a shot, and it quickly became the top performing Publix in their entire system. So we got a pretty good track record. So we're now in the process of courting a number of grocery stores to show them an opportunity, great opportunity in West Greenville. And we know it is. We tell the story to them. We know we're doing you the biggest favor in the world to get in there first. There will be a Whole Foods in the Roca Square project, County Square project, but this area really needs a grocery store, a more general kind of grocery store. And finally, let me switch to downtown Greenville. Everybody likes to ask questions about downtown. We had groundbreaking a few weeks ago for a project that I'll have to be the first to say should have been done 10 years ago, which is to connect Heritage Green to Main Street and downtown. Well, thank you. If you've ever seen, I hope you have that. I mean, if you're a visitor, you're staying at the Hyatt Hotel, you're here for a conference, and this happens a lot. Any hotel downtown will tell you, and you have people come with young families sometimes what to do. The Children's Museum is a huge draw, as well as people wanting to go to the library, art museum. And to get there from here, a woman told me years ago, I remember this kind of resonated in my ear. She was a visitor and she was telling me all the great things she experienced in Greenville, except for taking the kids to the Children's Museum. That didn't seem like Greenville, she said to me. And that's a quote, didn't seem like Greenville. And I thought that was a really well put statement. So anyway, after years of planning, we're going to have what you'll have between Main Street down to Heritage Green. You'll have the downtown Greenville you know and love. Wide sidewalk, big trees, comfortable way to get down there. Still going to be a little tough crossing Academy, but we're going to accentuate the crossing there. It'll work pretty well, and that will give it sort of a seamless, a new footprint for downtown Greenville. It'll feel like the museums are part of downtown in a way they never were. And by the way, that was a very as nice as Heritage Green is, that's kind of a classic 1970s, early 80s urban planning thing. They were really big at that time into taking museums and theaters and putting them together and putting them in their own little quadrant. Lincoln Center in New York was the ultimate example, but many, many around the country, and Greenville, South Carolina did exactly the same thing. Now, of course, we believe in mixed use. We believe in jumbling things together. We believe in walkability and all the good things, because we're trying to kind of make up for the mistakes that were made in the past. But that's going to be really great. It's not a coincidence that that corridor itself is going to change dramatically. First, you're going to have the old auditorium site with the development. I don't know if it's going to really happen in 24. It may be pushed in 25 with all the construction cost issues, but we'll see. But there will be a development on the auditorium site, and then there'll be one also in front of the old BB&T building across from Heritage Green. So you have two kind of bookend projects along there as you drive into town. But the main thing you'll experience as a driving into downtown Greenville in the few years ahead is that when you drive into downtown on 385, starting at the Law Enforcement Center, you will experience a tree-covered, walkable environment all the way to the Bon Secours Center and then on to Heritage Green. You'll feel like you're in Greenville, South Carolina, and not Wade Hampton Highway or something like that. And then let's see, touch on a few other things. Well, I'll end on this one. You can ask questions about other things, but we have a runaway success on our hands in a way that it kind of sneaked up on us. And we had some consultants here on some various matters, and they actually brought it up, but we already were talking about it, which is downtown Greenville to people who come here from any city you can think of. Think of Raleigh, think of Greensboro, think of virtually any city. And you know what they talk about now? You know, the trees, the walkability, the green spaces, the beauty, the retail. Can you name a city, mid-size or larger, that has the concentration in their downtown of honest to goodness, real retail on the level of downtown Greenville? Because you can't. We hadn't found one yet. We found a few sort of boutique-y small towns that have, you know, kind of a concentration, nothing like on our size. So I give a lot of credit on this. I think the Mass General Store helped us set it off years ago. I think that was strategic. And we kind of others along the way. And then later, 10 years after that, having the one plaza development with Anthropology and all that. But we have the retail. Warby Parker opened recently. In the world of retailers, when you get a Warby Parker, you have just opened the box for 10 more retailers. Our issue is always, though, maintaining kind of a good mix between local retail and national retailers. And here again, we're second to none. The Anthropology store sits there on one main place, a women's store, but we have about 9, what you really would have to call local women's stores surrounded around the neighborhood within a block or two of Anthropology. And that's exactly the balance you want to keep. So we're going to try to keep a good balance of locals and nationals, but the nationals serve a good purpose of bringing people here. They have advertising budgets, marketing budgets. They bring people to Main Street, get people in the habit of coming here, and we compete very well. We're almost at the level, I wouldn't say we're quite at the level of competing with the mall, but in many respects, we really do. And I tell you all this because we think we're going to see a second wave. The number of folks who are showing up now wanting to put retail in downtown. And again, good thing is not all national retailers. There's some people who are looking for a second and third store. We had one open just across from the Hyatt the other day, and it's a second women's store. The first one's in Anderson. They decided to open a second floor. They told me, they said, well, they feel like they've kind of grown up now. They did really well in Anderson. They won the second floor in downtown Greenville. They were surprised they could find a space in downtown Greenville. So we're beginning to have that happen. And I think, again, if you look at the downtown kind of writ large and what people experience when they come here, what's going to really strike folks is amazing is that we have a cluster of local retailers, national retailers, and people actually going downtown with the idea, I'm going to do some shopping. And you just didn't hear that a couple of years ago. So I think we're going to see more of that, and that's exciting, Deb, and all who've been in this business a long time. So we got a lot going on, and the great thing about the city right now is, to sum it all up, we did some surveys not long ago. Do you think the city's on the right track, wrong track? Very strong numbers on the right track. Again, when I went door to door, I kind of heard that over and over again. That's a good thing to hear. What's so amazing is we can't find another city of comparable size that has the same kind of thing happening. I don't have to tell you that if you ask right track, wrong track about the country as a whole, or people's attitude about things working or not working, being functional or dysfunctional, you kind of know where it usually comes out. At least here, things seem to be on a good track. But I give the credit again to the people. We always talk about on city council that the people in the city really push us as elected officials. They push us. Swamp Ribbit Trail, green space, housing, you name the topic. We push along to try to keep up with where the attitudes of the residents are. And that's such a good and healthy thing. And it's something I appreciate every single day as your mayor. Thank you very much. Tell me to watch the time and everything. You want to do a question? You got time? Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, it was probably no surprise to me that if in our city, the double-edged sword of growth is what we all talk about. And I think we all wrestle with it. And that is that, Greenville, of course, does need to be careful about how we grow. That was probably the main message. I sort of expected that. It's always a fair question to ask because there's always mistakes that are made and that kind of thing. We had just a year earlier, we had commenced a citywide rezoning of our city. And that was started about 5 years ago when we, city council, we hired consultants and went on some trips, nice trips to other cities, Raleigh, Nashville, Austin, Texas, a lot of other cities. And these were all cities that have grown much faster than Greenville. But they also have lived with this whole issue of growth within people's lifetimes. They've seen things change so dramatically. It was very instructive. So it was kind of an exercise in, okay, now tell us, we're just starting this journey, if you will, what would you have done differently? So I'd like to say that part of our success in the last year has been to not just listen to political campaigns, but the larger message there from other cities that there are different ways to do things. And if you want to know the answer, by the way, it was very interesting. All those cities said similar things, and they did want to talk about it. That was one thing. All the cities that have fast growth and huge change, I mean, they want to talk about it, and they want to talk about what they did do wrong, and that informs our emphasis on green space and parks. They wish they had done more earlier on green space and parks. I think we're really good on that now. We really focus on it. That's one of our ways to manage our growth and balance our growth is create more green space, more parks when you still have a chance to do it. Issues like affordable housing in terms of preservation of your housing stock in particular came up again and again, and things we try to learn from. But the growth issues, to answer your question, yes. Church Street Bridge. Have y'all ridden on the Church Street Bridge lately? It's like you're entering Albania. Or I'm insulting Toronto because that's actually a pretty nice city, I understand. State Highway Department owns that bridge. About 8 years ago, they came to us and said, we got to renovate the bridge. And I'm going to tell you what I really think. I really think that the State Highway Department has found that bridge to be in far worse shape than they thought. Anecdotally, we've been experiencing, things falling off the bridge, like coming down, and you can just see the condition it's in. So the project got pulled back mainly because they realized they had to spend more money and had to find a way to spend more money. We're still at the table on two things. One is when they do renovate the bridge, we want to see wide sidewalks and attractive street lighting and make it a nice amenity, if you will. And then secondly, we're really going to be on them big time in terms of the construction process, because they're going to keep it open, but closing lanes at different times. So it's going to be a real bear, but we're really, that's kind of our main focus to do that. But it looks really bad. In fact, another thing, have you noticed this? About 6 months ago, Duke Energy, I guess it was Duke, took the lights off the bridge. Most of the lighting was not operating, but some of it was, and they just took the lights away. And so there are no lights on the Church Street Bridge at night. It's very interesting. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, consolidation was a hot item. You know, I talked about in the 1970s and 80s, everybody was trying to merge their law enforcement, sheriffs and police departments will work together in some happy kingdom. It didn't work out that way very well. And consolidation was a hot topic in Greenville not that many years ago. And I think in most places, every place is a little bit different. I think the danger is for a city, if you have a successful city, is you're subsumed in this larger county. I mean, there would be no attention by a county consolidated government in what happens in downtown Greenville. Certainly they wouldn't be out there recruiting retailers or doing the micro things we do. So I think that idea has kind of come and gone around here. I don't think people in the city would want to give up their autonomy, if you will, in the larger county government. You know, that's my view anyway. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a little bit sensitive. The arena, Bon Secours Center, is a county facility. And not only that, it's from a city standpoint, we're very careful about that. To the point that when they have their opening season, the mayor is not the first one on the ice. It's the county facility, county council is. And now the positive has been the last couple of years, the county government has really invested in the arena. They're proud of it. It receives a lot of attention. Beth Paul is an amazing leader for that. She works with the county government very, very well. So I think it's a good thing. But basically, yeah, on that, we just sort of have hands off. We're helpful where we can be, where we're invited to be so. We're working with Beth on her plans to perhaps create an entertainment district around the arena, maybe a hotel, some other things like that. We're willing to help her on that, but that's really the reason, yeah. You know, just on the micro level, let me take it to downtown first. Any of y'all been to Columbus, Ohio? Okay, Columbus is a good example. Columbus is really, my way of, they got their issues a little more late, but they're a really successful city in so many respects. The downtown area, we're still a small city, and we're still a very small downtown footprint as well. Columbus has buildings that are much taller than anything in downtown Greenville, but they've done a really good job of maintaining on the pedestrian level. As you walk around downtown Columbus, lots of green space, lots of open space, good street activities, not as much retail as we have, but good retail activity on the downtown. So the downtown can grow. It is going to grow. The landmark building now back being called the Daniel Building is 25 stories. It was built in 1965. We haven't had a building since 1965 over 25 stories, and the market drives this. We may never get one because the market's very tough on square footage for buildings, but I do expect us to have more dense development in downtown Greenville. I think our job is to maintain the walkability, the green space on the ground level. And this would be best advice of best consultants around the world, that if you maintain, as you walk around, it still feels like downtown Greenville. We have setback requirements on towers that most cities don't have. We have a lot of attention on how you design. You can design your tower, whatever you want to do practically, but what you do on the first 4 floors, we're on you. We're on you, because that's what people see and how they feel about things. So that's for downtown as a whole. And then larger pictures is a really good question, because I just hope that the county writ large will learn the lessons of these other cities as well, and understand that, public transportation, if you don't have at least a foundation built, you don't have anything to build on. Green space and trails and those kind of quality of life things really continue to give us a competitive edge over everyone else. Otherwise, our fundamentals are so strong with Michelin and BMW and GE, and not just the manufacturing, but the innovation that goes on with those companies, the research and development goes on with all those companies is profound and probably not fully appreciated yet here. And that's going to continue to help us build kind of a different level of our economy, in my opinion. Deb gets her question. Well, thank you. Thank you. And Deb's a big part of it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I know that was kind of back and forth. Maybe next year I'll come with a really big project to throw on you. Thank you.
So thank you, Mayor Knox, for speaking, and he will be signing our book for donation to Alexander Elementary School. That is what he has now. We have some upcoming events. We have Health and Happiness at California Dreaming on Monday, the 15th. We have Coffee and Conversation on the 18th at Methodical Downtown at 9 a.m. And for our next meeting will be on the 23rd with our District Governor, Renee Stubbs. And volunteer opportunities, the 18th, you can hand out teacher treats at Alexander Elementary School. And we have a new opportunity this month. We have 5 Tuesdays this month. We meet on the 2nd and 4th. So on the 5th Tuesday of this month during lunchtime, should you be missing us, you may come volunteer, and please do sign up because there are limited spots. We want to see how this goes first. To bake cookies at the Ronald McDonald House at noon. So on the 5th Tuesday of this month, that is an opportunity for you also. Career Day this year, if you have not signed up for Career Day, you may get a phone call. Please do accept that call, probably from Pam Weaver this year, or maybe Elizabeth, I don't know, who's making all the phone calls. This year on the 13th of February, the student selection process, they wanted me to let you know that was changed this year. Instead of the counselors assigning a career cluster to the students themselves submitted the form with their top 3 career clusters. And they were required to tell more about why they wanted to do that. And Elizabeth Razor and Pam Weaver have read each of the submissions and placing the students in the best fit possible. So we're hoping they are very engaged, and they always do seem to be very appreciative of the time we spend with them to tell them about our careers and help guide them in their selections. And if you will all stand now. 4-way test over there. Of the things we think, say, or do, the truth, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Meeting adjourned.